for having me. I was surprised, and I think Wall Street was surprised as well. And it was certainly an unwelcome surprise. So the producer price index, which is basically the cost of wholesale goods and services, rose 0.9% in July, a little under 1 percentage point. Economists thought it would be 0.2%. So that is much higher than the consensus forecast.
Okay, buckle up. Tariffs just exploded. Prices shot through the roof. America is stunned. And yet, despite it all, Canada refuses to flinch. Let's get into it. It's August 2025, and the US is stunned by the fallout from President Trump's sweeping new tariffs. On July 31st, he signed an executive order hiking duties on Canadian goods from 25% to 35% for items outside the USMCA, and slapped a 40% transshipment penalty on goods routed through third countries to dodge those tariffs. Global markets tumbled. The US effective tariff rate surged to about 18%, triggering sharp stock market drops.
Seems to be running at a 3% level, not the 2% target the Fed has. That's getting worse, not better, and there's probably more.
Canada responded confidently. Prime Minister Mark Carney, expressing disappointment, vowed to defend Canadian jobs by building Canada strong and diversify export markets instead of capitulating. Meanwhile, Ottawa keeps pushing diplomatic and commercial resilience. So what happened, and why does the US appear shocked? Beginning March 4, 2025, Trump unleashed a tariff wave, 25% on most Canadian imports, 10% on energy, plus 50% on Canadian steel and aluminum, igniting a full-blown trade skirmish. Canada fired back with retaliatory tariffs on US goods, including alcohol, appliances, motorcycles, and more. Ontario even banned US booze via its Liquor Control Board. Despite the pressure, by June around 92% of Canadian exports by value were still entering the US tariff-free, largely thanks to oil and gas exemptions and USMCA compliance. But non-oil exporters, especially small firms like Starfield Optics, find the path to compliance costly and cumbersome. March 4, 25% tariffs kick in. Canada retaliates immediately. March 6, Trump delays tariffs on USMCA-compliant goods to the recommended 38% of exports to ease disruption. On June, higher tariffs on steel, autos, aluminum take full effect. August 1st, the big escalation, 35% on Canadian goods not under USMCA, markets plunge. Trump cited Canada's failure to stem fentanyl trafficking, though only a tiny fraction, around 1%, originates from Canada. Critics argue the move is more about forcing concessions and projecting strength. Economists warn these tariffs are inflationary, harm U.S. households, and deter investment. Indeed, analysts estimate U.S. households could lose an average of $2,400 in 2025 alone. Immediate and long-term impacts. Prices have risen. Procter & Gamble and Walmart are passing on costs. Inflation hovers above the Fed's target, fueling pressure on policymakers. U.S. chocolate makers face higher costs. Chocolate imports from Canada and Mexico surge due to tariff advantages. U.S. liquor exports to Canada have plunged over 60% as Canada boycotts American booze, boosting domestic sales 14% in Ontario. Rising tariff revenue, critics note, may bolster the administration's legal defense in court challenges. Inflation hasn't spiked as much as feared, possibly due to lower effective tariff rates, about 9 to 10%, thanks to exemptions and shifting import sources. Smaller firms struggle with supply chain restructuring for USMCA compliance, a story often overshadowed by big-picture headlines. 8. As of August 2025, tariffs are fully active, markets are reacting. Canada remains resolute. Carney speaks of industrial strength and export diversification. Lobbying and legal pushback in the U.S. continue. The Federal Reserve contemplates a rate cut while inflation and growth stall. Going forward, if USMCA compliance climbs, tariffs may ease for Canadian exporters. Legal challenges and political pressure could force adjustments, but if Trump continues to escalate, retaliation may intensify, and global supply chains could face more disruption. So, here's the skinny. President Trump's new duties, 35% on Canadian goods, have ignited inflation, stung U.S. firms, and bewildered markets. Yet rather than crack, Canada stands firm, protecting its industries, enforcing compliance where it can, and diversifying where it must. This clash isn't a battle of brute force. It's a test of policy, resolve, and resilience. What does this mean for you? How will affordable goods and stable jobs survive in a world where trade becomes a weapon? Tell me your thoughts, subscribe, hit comment, because these tariffs aren't just economics, they're shaping our future.